Welcome back to the Bluffton News. Daniel Cort, Marcus Walsh, and the rest of the crew were back on the gridiron on Friday, and here are the highlights.
Marcus Walsh, Daniel Cort back here at the Broad River Bowl. It's in a wrap, and it's 45-12 Beaufort over Bluffton. And Daniel, co-MVPs again. Something about a quarterback and a kicker. Two guys that were tremendous here tonight. Certainly Tyler Haley and Joe Caprarola. And just the way that Beaufort came out and played very intense football for all four quarters. It was a tight game for the first quarter and a half or so. And then second and third levels just laid on by Beaufort.
Yeah, Coach Librand said they came out a little sloppy at the beginning of the game. Bluffton was very intense. Bluffton came out and had a great game plan. But I think that loss last week to May River, that close loss, really got under their skin.
Yep.
And I think we saw a fiery football team that had something to prove. They were 7th in the state going into that game. May River kind of leapfrogged them and got in the top 10 of the state, and they moved out. So that always ticks a team off, especially when they know they're on the same level of, talent and really balance. This is a really, really balanced football team. In fact, one of probably the most balanced defensively, offensively, and special teams that I've seen in quite some time in high school football.
Yeah, for sure. And Bluffton, a lot of the same things just happened to creep up again, not just the penalties, but miscues, execution issues at times. They did make a comeback late and were able to score a touchdown and then possibly a second, but time ran out. Bluffton's got a lot to work on because they've got James Island still with a chance to get into the playoffs as that fifth team in 4A. Beaufort travels to take on Colleton County next week. Both very tough games for these opponents.
Yeah, and you make a good point. Bluffton's season is not over. I think most of what we're seeing is a younger football team, a little bit immature, and that's sometimes tough to get around, especially when flags are flying everywhere. We talked about this last week. Players can get pensive. They can lose their confidence when they're, seeing penalties over and over and over again, and that can really affect the momentum and drive in a football game. But make no mistake about it, Bluffton is really talented.
They are.
They've got a good quarterback and a great receiving core, a very pesky and aggressive defense. Don't put it past them to put some of these things together as they possibly get into the playoffs. They could be dangerous. I wouldn't look past them at all.
Bluffton's slated right now as a 5 seed. Beaufort, with the swapping with May River, is slated as the 2 seed as of now. Next week, we see Hilton Head Christian Academy. They had a huge win over Beaufort Academy tonight. I think the final was like 38-6.
35-6.
35-6. So we will see them next week. They have a chance to go 10-0. That game is at Hilton Head Prep. It is the Cross Island Bowl. Should be a great matchup. We know that Hilton Head Christian Academy is just great with athletes on the outside, great levels on the defense. Jace Blackshear is an absolute animal. The thing about Hilton Head Prep that Bob Stevens and I saw earlier in the year, they're a team that can definitely do some things with a small roster size. They only have 20 players.
Wow.
Next man up. Great coaches on both teams. Should be a great game. Your first thoughts on that game at the Cross Island Bowl at HHP next week?
Well, again, we've talked about Blackshear. I've been wanting to see him all season. You could probably hit a 7-iron over to that football field over there.
Absolutely.
Really excited to see that talent, one of the premier talents in all of South Carolina. But we talked about just this team is the class of Skeeza at the 2A, and Thomas Hayward is likely the class of Skeeza at the 1A.
Right.
But Prep's no pushover.
No,
and we saw a state class kicker in Joe Caprarola tonight.
We're going to see another one, right? Trevor Weldon. Weldon next week going to be something special to watch.
A good kicker at the high school level is a serious weapon. You don't always get that. So I don't know. I'm very excited. I think it could be very competitive.
It's going to be fun. For Daniel Cort, Joseph Keith, Jeremy Pope, the rest of our WHHI crew, I'm Marcus Walsh. We're going to say so long for now. We'll see you next week at the Cross Island Bowl on WHHI Sports. Now back to wrap up the Bluffton News.